How's it going, guys? I'm CTM Amygdala and welcome back to another Call of Duty Modern Warfare video. So today's video was originally going to be Metro Last Light Part 3. However, yesterday I decided that I was going to play one game of Modern Warfare, and then one game turned into two, and I spent the whole entire day playing Modern Warfare. So as a result, you guys are getting another Modern Warfare video. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button, and also don't forget to subscribe for daily content. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to just improve overall, really, in first-person shooters in general. This isn't Call of Duty specific, but I will be demonstrating it on Modern Warfare. Alright guys, so for the first tips I have for you guys are the kind of outside of game tips, and this is going to include. Alright guys, so the first tips I have for you guys are kind of the outside of game tips, and this is going to include Alright guys, so the first tips I have for you guys are the outside of game tips, and these include things like controller modifications and settings. And when I say controller modifications, I'm not talking about like those hacked modded controllers that like jitter and stuff like that. I'm talking more things like paddles, control freaks, you know, stuff that you can still use in a tournament, I believe. So essentially what I do not use paddles, which I'll show you guys what I do to make jumping easier in my settings in a second, but I do use control freaks, and I would really recommend picking up a pair of control freaks. They are about $15 to $20, so instead of just going to the store and buying a $20 skin, I'd recommend throwing that money towards a pair of control freaks, because they really help out a lot, and they've got about a 3 to 4 year lifespan if you game a lot like I do. Like, I play video games pretty much daily, and mine last about 3 to 4 years, and I've been using them since 2015, and I'm on my second pair right now, and they're still holding up strong. And like I said, they're only $20, so you're easily getting your money's worth out of them. Now, what control freaks are is their joystick extenders. So it's like a little joystick that you put on top of your current joystick, and it like latches onto it, so you don't have to move the joystick as much since it's longer. And I personally use a shorter control freak on my left joystick, and then a longer control freak on my right joystick, because the longer the joystick, the easier it is to aim, and your right joystick is the one that you're mainly aiming with, because your right one's more, or your left one's more movement based. And now I'm going to be getting into the settings. So it's really just finding your good perfect sensitivity. I personally prefer to play on lower sensitivity. I play on 2s, and then I turn my aim down sight down to 0.90, and this just helps me aim better. I also play on bumper jumper tactical, so I can use my back bumpers, my triggers, to jump, and then I use L1 and R1 to fire and aim. Even though it says I use L1 to jump, it's actually L2 for me, because I have my buttons inverted automatically through my PS4 settings. So my L1 is actually my L2 and vice versa. And then I've got my joystick as crouch, prone, and slide, and that just makes it easier to drop shot, because I don't have to reach my finger across my controller. I've pretty much already got my finger on the stick. I can just press it down and I'll drop shot them. So that's another tip that I would recommend. And everything else is just knowing the best settings for the game. There's lots of videos on this. Another big tip that I would say is I personally have my colorblind on the last one. I'm not actually colorblind, I just like the way the game looks better. Like I said, it's literally just going through all the settings and finding which ones you personally like the most. For example, another one is the minimap shape. If you see here, by default people have circle on, except you can see a lot more from the square, whereas it kind of cuts off the spawn with the circle. You've got that whole spawn area that's visible with the square. And it's just things like this that will really help you improve your game. And now I'm going to be getting into more of the in-game tips for when you're actually in the match. So there's a couple of smaller tips that are good to know for first-person shooters in general. And a lot of people, these are ones that a lot of people kind of say and talk about. And some of these include like watching YouTubers and streamers and kind of follow what they do, so you have a sense of how to get better at the games themselves. And some other ones are like keeping up to date with the meta. So like doing your research and knowing what the best guns are, what the best attachments are, and just kind of overall what everyone's using at the time. And just kind of knowing like what's best within the game and kind of doing your research. That's another big one. And then the third small one is also learning the maps and kind of knowing how to move around them, knowing choke points, places where people might be like head glitching, or popular camping spots. And now I'm going to be talking about what I call the big five when it comes to first-person shooters. And these are the main things that you want to get good at to really be good at the game. Like, these are the core mechanics. If you're good at everything else I just said and you follow all those, you'll generally be decent to average, to maybe a little bit above average. But you really need these to become good. And I don't consider myself like really good at video games. Like, I'd say I'm like average, and then sometimes I'll have like above average games. Like in Warzone, my highest kill game's only 15, but I have dropped nukes in regular multiplayer, which is that's just one of my strong points. I'm better at close quarters, so I'm naturally gonna have a higher kill streak on there. But for the top five, or the big five, I would consider them to be, you need to practice your reflexes, like how fast you notice people. And that's personally my strongest point out of all five of these, which is why I'm so good at close quarter engagements and not so good at long range, because I can snap onto people. I'm 99% of the time I'll shoot first, but at those longer ranges it doesn't always pay off because my aim is not as good as it should be. But that gets me into my second one, which is aim. You want to do research on how to really perfect your aim. I went on to some of these a little bit to find your perfect sensitivity using control freaks and stuff like this. And on top of just knowing your aim, the third one is also learning how to control gun recoil. If you're good at controlling recoil, you'll be able to just master any video games pretty much. Like, as you can see, I'm pretty good with the recoil here at the kilo. I'm not good at all recoil patterns, but there's some that I've gotten really used to, like the MP5 and the kilo, which are generally pretty easy to control in the first place. And now I'm going to be getting into the ones that are my personal weaknesses. Like, I'd say I'm okay with aim and recoil, and then I'd consider myself way above average when it comes to reflex times. But the ones that I personally need to work on are my positioning and my awareness. And those two are the ones that get me killed the most. As you can probably tell just from my videos, I'm always getting shot in the back. Even here, I'll die here in a second, and you'll see a guy slides out the door, and I didn't see him. I didn't expect him coming, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. You got to be aware of those things. Just kind of know how to position yourself, and I'm still practicing that. Still doing research, trying to figure out the best places to position myself, and I'm still trying to adjust audio so I can hear footsteps better and stuff, but it's just knowing those 5 things. And once again, these 5 things are reaction time, aiming, recoil control, positioning, and awareness. If you have those 5, you'll generally be pretty good at first-person shooters, I would say. And for recoil control, it's really just learning the pattern, and if you kind of hold down on the right thumbstick, you'll control recoil better. That's a tip that I have for that. For aiming, it's really just practice with the gun and finding your perfect sensitivity, like I said before, finding your perfect sensitivity and just kind of like slowing down, like don't move your joystick as much. Like as you can see there, I hit pretty much every single shot, but I was farther away, and that's another thing with kind of positioning and awareness, just knowing when to take fights and when to not take fights. Like I said, my biggest downfall with first-person shooters, so I don't really have tips for those two because I'm not good at them myself. As you can see, once again, awareness got me killed. But for reaction time, a tip that I have for that is to, as soon as you see somebody, just try and snap on and start shooting, and you'll eventually kind of get your aim better. And that's personally the first thing that I got good at. And as you can see there, that guy, same as me, awareness was just not there. But I'll see you guys next time.